verses 88 to 138 of the Song of Roland. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Joy Chan. The Song of Roland, Anonymous, translated by Charles Kenneth Scott Moncrief. Verses 88 to 138. When Roland sees that now must be combat, more fierce he's found than lion or leopard, the Franks he calls, and Oliver commands, "Now say no more, my friends, nor thou, comrade. That Emperor, who left us Franks on guard, 1,000 score stout men he set apart, and well he knows not one will prove coward. Man for his lord should suffer with good heart, of bitter cold and great heat bear the smart. His blood let drain, and all his flesh be scarred. Strike with thy lance, and I with Durendal, with my good sword that was the king's reward. So, if I die, who has it afterward? Noble vassals, he well may say it was." From the other part is the Archbishop Turpin. He pricks his horse, and mounts upon a hill. Calling the Franks, sermon to them begins. "My lords barons, Charles left us here for this. He is our king, well may we die for him, to Christendom good service offering. Battle you'll have, you all are bound to it, for with your eyes you see the Saracens. Pray for God's grace, confessing him your sins. For your soul's health I'll absolution give. So though you die, blessed martyrs shall you live. Thrones you shall win in the great Paradis." The Franks dismount, upon the ground are lit. That Archbishop God's benediction gives. For their penance, good blows to strike he bids. The Franks arise, and stand upon their feet. They're well absolved, and from their sins made clean, and the Archbishop has signed them with God's seal. And next they mount upon their chargers keen. By rule of knights they have put on their gear, for battle or apparelled as is meet. The Count Roland calls Oliver and speaks: "Comrade and friend, now clearly have you seen That Guenelun hath got us by deceit. Gold hath he ta'en, much wealth is his to keep. That Emperor vengeance for us must wreak. King Marsilies hath bargained for us cheap. At the sword's point he yet shall pay our meed." To Spanish Pass is Rollant now going, on Veillantif his good steed galloping. He is well armed, pride is in his bearing. He goes, so brave, his spear in hand holding. He goes, its point against the sky turning. A gonfalon all white thereon he's pinned. Down to his hand flutters the golden fringe. Noble his limbs, his face clear and smiling. His companion goes after, following. The men of France their warrant find in him. Proudly he looks towards the Saracens, and to the Franks sweetly, himself humbling, and courteously has said to them this thing: "My lords barons, go now your pace holding. Pagans are come great martyrdom seeking. Noble and fair reward this day shall bring, Was never won by any Frankish king." Upon these words the hosts are come touching. Speaks Oliver: "No more now will I say. Your Oliphant to sound it do not deign, Since from Carlun you'll never more have aid. He has not heard, nor fault of his so brave. Those with him there are never to be blamed. So canter on with what prowess you may. Lords and barons, firmly your ground maintain. Be minded well, I pray you in God's name, Stout blows to strike, to give as you shall take. Forget the cry of Charles we never may." Upon this word the Franks cry out amain, Who then had heard them all Montjoy acclaim. Of vassalage might well recall the tale. They canter forth, God! with what proud parade! Pricking their spurs, the better speed to gain. They go to strike, what other thing could they? But Saracens are not at all afraid. Pagans and Franks, you'd see them now engaged. Marsile's nephew, his name is Aelroth, First of them all, canters before the host, Says of our Franks these ill words as he goes: "Felons of France, so here on us you close. Betrayed you has he that to your guard you ought. Mad is the king who left you in this post. So shall the fame of France the Douce be lost, and the right arm from Charles' body torn. When Roland hears, what rage he has, by God! His steed he spurs, gallops with great effort. He goes, that count, to strike with all his force. The shield he breaks, the hauberk's seam unsews, slices the heart, and shatters up the bones. All of the spine he severs with that blow, and with his spear the soul from body throws. So well he's pinned, he shakes in the air that corse, on his spear's hilt he's flung it from the horse. So in two halves Eoroth's neck he broke, nor left him yet, they say, but rather spoke. Avaunt, Calvert, a madman Charles is not. No treachery was ever in his thought. Proudly he did, who left us in this post. The fame of France the Douce shall not be lost. Strike on, the Franks, ours are the foremost blows. For we are right, but these gluttons are wrong. A duke there was, his name was Falfarun. Brother was he to King Marsiliun. He held their land, Dathans and Abiruns. Beneath the sky no more encrimed felon. Between his eyes so broad was he in front, a great 1/2 foot you'd measure there in full. His nephew dead he's seen with grief enough, comes through the press and wildly forth he runs. Aloud he shouts their cry the pagans use, and to the Franks is right contrarious. "Honour of France the Douce shall fail to us." Here's Oliver, he's very furious. His horse he pricks with both his golden spurs, and goes to strike, even as a baron doth. The shield he breaks, and through the hauberk cuts. His ensign's fringe into the carcass thrusts. On his spear's hilt he's flung it dead in dust. Looks on the ground, sees Glutton lying thus, and says to him, with reason proud enough: "From threatening, Calvert, your mouth I've shut. Strike on, the Franks! Right well we'll overcome." "Montjoy!" he shouts, 'twas the ensign of Carlun. A king there was, his name was Corsablis, barbarian, and of a strange country. He's called aloud to the other Sarrazins: "Well may we join battle upon this field, for of the Franks but very few are here, and those are here we should account them cheap, for Charles not one has any warranty. This is the day when they their death shall meet." Has heard him well that Archbishop Turpin. No man he'd hate so much the sky beneath. Spurs of fine gold he pricks into his steed. To strike that king, by virtue great goes he. The hauberk all unfastens, breaks the shield, thrusts his great spear in through the carcass clean, pins it so well he shakes it in its seat. Dead in the road he's flung it from his spear. Looks on the ground, that glutton lying sees, nor leaves him yet, they say, but rather speaks: "Calvert, pagan, you lied now in your teeth. Charles my lord our warrant is indeed. None of our Franks hath any mind to flee. Your companions all on this spot we'll keep. I tell you news, death shall ye suffer here. Strike on, the Franks, fail none of you at need. Ours the first blow, to God the glory be." "Montjoy!" he cries, for all the camp to hear. And Geraint strikes Malpremy of Brigal, so his good shield is nothing worth at all. Shatters the boss, was fashioned of crystal. 1/2 of it downward to earth flies off. Right to the flesh has through his hauberk torn. On his good spear he has the carcass caught, and with one blow that pagan downward falls. The soul of him Satan away hath borne. And his comrade Gerers strikes the admiral. The shield he breaks, the hauberk unmetals, and his good spear drives into his vitals. So well he's pinned him, clean through the carcass. Dead on the field he's flung from his hand. Says Oliver: "Now is our battle grand." Sanson the Duke goes strike that Almacour. The shield he breaks, with golden flowers tooled. That good hauberk for him is nothing proof. He's sliced the heart, the lungs and liver through, and flung him dead, as well or ill may prove. Says the Archbishop, a barren stroke in truth. And Ansay has let his charger run. He goes to strike Turgis of Tertullus. The shield he breaks, its golden boss above. The hauberk too its doubled mail undoes. His good spear's point into the carcass runs. So well he's thrust, clean through the whole steel comes, and from the hilt he's thrown him dead in dust. Then says Roland, "Great prowess in that thrust." And Engelers, the Gascoigne of Burdel, spurs on his horse, lets fall the reins as well. He goes to strike Escremis of Valtrain. The shield he breaks and shatters on his neck. The hauberk too, he has its chin-guard rent, between the armpits has pierced him through the breast. On his spear's hilt from saddle throws him dead. After he says, "So are you turned to hell." And Otes strikes a pagan Estorgant upon the shield before its leathern band, slices it through, the white with the scarlet. The hauberk too has torn its folds apart, and his good spear thrusts clean through the carcass, and flings it dead, even as the horse goes past. He says, "You have no warrant afterward." And Berenger, he strikes Estramariz. The shield he breaks, the hauberk tears and splits. Thrusts his stout spear through's middle, and him flings Down dead among 1,000 Sarrazins. Of their dozen peers 10 have now been killed. No more than 2 remain alive and quick, being Chernuble and the Count Margariz. Margariz is a very gallant knight, both fair and strong, and swift he is and light. He spurs his horse, goes Oliver to strike, and breaks his shield by the golden buckle bright. Along his ribs the pagan's spear doth glide. God's his warrant, his body has respite. The shaft breaks off, Oliver stays upright. That other goes, naught stays him in his flight. His trumpet sounds, rallies his tribe to fight. Common the fight is now, and marvellous. The Count Rollanz no way himself secures, strikes with his spear, long as the shaft endures. By 15 blows it is clean broken through. Then Durendal he bears, his sabre good, spurs on his horse, is gone to strike Chernuble. The helmet breaks, where bright carbuncles grew, slices the cap, and shears the locks in two. Slices also the eyes and the features, the hauberk white, whose mail was close of woof. Down to the groin cuts all his body through, to the saddle, with beaten gold 'twas tooled. Upon the horse that sword a moment stood, then sliced its spine, no join there any new. Dead in the field among thick grass them threw. After he said, "Culvert, false step you moved, from Mahumet your help will not come soon. No victory for gluttons such as you." The Count Rollanz, he canters through the field, holds Durendal, he well can thrust and wield. Right great damage he's done the Sarrazins, you'd seen them, one on other, dead in heaps. Through all that place their blood was flowing clear. In blood his arms were, and his hauberk steeped, and bloodied o'er, shoulders and neck, his steed. And Oliver goes on to strike with speed. No blame that way deserve the dozen peers, for all the Franks they strike and slay with heat. Pagans are slain, some swoon there in their seats. Says the Archbishop, "Good baronage indeed! Montjoy!" he cries, the call of Charles repeats. And Oliver has cantered through the crush, broken his spear, the truncheon still he thrusts, going to strike a pagan Malseron. Flowers and gold are on the shield he cuts. Out of the head both the 2 eyes have burst, and all the brains are fallen in the dust. He flings him dead, 700 else amongst. Then has he slain Turgin and Estragus. Right to the hilt, his spear in flinders flew. Then says Rollant, "Companion, what do you? In such a fight there's little strength in wood. Iron and steel should here their valour prove. Where's your sword, that Hauteclair I knew? Golden its hilt, whereon a crystal grew. Says Oliver, I had not, if I drew, time left to strike enough good blows and true. Then Oliver has drawn his mighty sword, as his comrade had bidden and implored. In knightly wise the blade to him was showed. Justin he strikes, that Iron Valley's lord. All of his head has down the middle shorn, the carcass sliced, the broidered sark has torn. The good saddle that was with old adorned, and through the spine has sliced that pagan's horse. Dead in the field before his feet they fall. Says Roland, now, my brother, I you call. He'll love us for such blows, our Emperour. On every side, Monjoie, you'd hear them roar. That Count Gerin sate on his horse Sorrel. En passeur was Gerard there, his friend. They've loosed their reins, together spurred and sped, and go to strike a pagan Timozel. One on the shield, on hauberk the other fell, and their two spears went through the carcass well. A fallow field amidst they've thrown him dead. I do not know, I never heard it said, which of the two were nimbler as they went. Esperivy was there, son of Borrel, and him there slew Engelers of Burdel. And the Archbishop, he slew them Siglaurel, the enchanter, who before had been in hell, where Jupiter bore him by a magic spell. Then Turpin says, to us he's forfeited. Answers Rollanz, the culvert is bested. Such blows, brother Olivier, I like well. The battle grows more hard and harder yet. Franks and pagans with marvellous onset each other strike, and each himself defends. So many shafts blood-stained and shattered, so many flags and ensigns tattered, so many Franks lose their young lustihead, who'll see no more their mothers nor their friends, nor hosts of France that in the pass attend. Charles the Great weeps therefore with regret. What profits that? No succour shall they get. Evil service that day Guenes rendered them, to Sarraguce going, his own to sell. After he lost his members and his head, in court at Aix to gallows tree condemned, and 30 more with him, of his own kindred, were hanged, a thing they never did expect. Now marvellous and weighty the combat, right well they strike Olivier and Roland. 1,000 blows come from the Archbishop's hand, the dozen peers are nothing short of that, with one accord join battle all the Franks. Pagans are slain by 100, by 1,000. Who flies not then, from death has no warrant, will he or nill, foregoes the allotted span. The Franks have lost the foremost of their band, they'll see no more their fathers nor their clans, nor Charlemagne, where in the pass he stands. Torment arose, right marvellous, in France. Tempest there was of wind and thunder black, with rain and hail, so much could not be spanned. Fell thunderbolts often on every hand, and verily the earth quaked in answer back, from Saint Michael of Peril unto Sands, from Besancon to the harbour of Guitsand. No house stood there but straight its walls must crack. In full midday the darkness was so grand, save the sky split, no light was in the land. Beheld these things with terror every man, and many said, we in the judgment stand, the end of time is presently at hand. They spake no truth, they did not understand. 'Twas the great day of mourning for Roland. The Franks strike on, their hearts are good and stout. Pagans are slain, 1,000-fold, in crowds. Left of 50 are not 2,000 now. Says the Archbishop, our men are very proud. No man on earth has more nor better found. In chronicles of Franks is written down What vassalage he had, our Emperour. Then through the field they go, their friends seek out, and their eyes weep with grief and pain profound, for kinsmen dear, by hearty friendship bound, King Marsilis and his great host draw round. King Marsilies along a valley led The mighty host that he had gathered. 20 columns that king had numbered, with gleaming gold their helms were jewelled, shone too their shields and sarks embroidered, sounded the charge 7,000 trumpets, great was the noise through all that country went. Then said Rollanz: "Olivier, brother, friend, that felon Guenes hath sworn to achieve our death, for his treason no longer is secret. Right great vengeance our Emperour will get, battle we'll have, both long and keenly set. Never has man beheld such armies met. With Durendal my sword I'll strike again, and, comrade, you shall strike with Halteclere. These swords and lands so many have we held, battles with them so many brought to end. No evil song shall e'er be sung or said." When the Franks see so many there, pagans, on every side covering all the land, often they call Olivier and Roland, the dozen peers to be their safe warrant. And the Archbishop speaks to them, as he can: "My lords barons, go thinking nothing bad. For God I pray you fly not hence, but stand, Lest evil songs of our valour men chant. Far better 'twere to perish in the van. Certain it is our end is near at hand. Beyond this day shall no more live one man. But of one thing I give you good warrant: Blest paradise to you now open stands. By the Innocents your thrones you there shall have." Upon these words grow bold again the Franks. There is not one but he Montjoy demands. A Sarrazin was there of Sarraguce, of that city one half was his by use. 'Twas Climborins, a man was nothing proof. By Guenelun the count an oath he took, and kissed his mouth in amity and truth. Gave him his sword and his carbuncle too. Terra Major, he said, to shame he'd put. From the Emperour his crown he would remove. He sate his horse, which he called Barbamuche. Never so swift sparrow nor swallow flew. He spurred him well, and down the reins he threw, Going to strike Enguerlier of Gascune. Nor shield nor sark him any warrant proved. The pagan spear's point did his body wound. He pinned him well, and all the steel went through. From the hilt flung him dead beneath his foot. After he said: "Good are they to confuse. Pagans, strike on, and so this press set loose." "God!" say the Franks, "grief such a man to lose." The Count Rollanz called upon Oliver: "Sir companion, dead now is Engelert, Than whom we'd no more valiant chevalier." Answered that count: "God let me him avenge!" Spurs of fine gold into his horse drove then, Held Halteclere, with blood its steel was red. By virtue great to strike that pagan went. Brandished his blade, the Sarrazin upset. The adversaries of God his soul bear thence. Next he has slain the Duke Alphain, And sliced away Escababi his head, And has unhorsed some 7 Arabs else. No good for those to go to war again. Then said Rollanz: "My comrade shews anger, So in my sight he makes me prize him well. More dear by Charles for such blows are we held." Aloud he's cried: "Strike on the chevalier!" From the other part a pagan Valdebron, Warden he'd been to King Marsilion, And lord by sea of 400 dromons. No sailor was, but called his name upon. Jerusalem he'd taken by treason, Violated the temple of Salomon, The patriarch had slain before the fonts, He'd pledged his oath by County Guenelon, Gave him his sword, 1,000 coins thereon. He sate his horse, which he called Gramimond. Never so swift flew in the air falcon. He's pricked him well, with sharp spurs he had on, Going to strike in that rich Duke Sanson. His shield has split, his hauberk has undone, The ensign's folds have through his body gone. Dead from the hilt, out of his seat he's dropped. "Pagans, strike on, for well we'll overcome." "God!" say the Franks, "grief for a brave baron!" The Count Rollant, when Sanson dead he saw, you may believe great grief he had therefore. His horse he spurs, gallops with great effort, wields Durendal, was worth fine gold and more, goes as he may to strike that baron bold, above the helm that was embossed with gold, slices the head, the sark and all the corse, the good saddle that was embossed with gold, he cuts deep through the backbone of his horse. He's slain them both, blame him for that, our Lord. The pagans say, "'Twas hard on us, that blow." Answers Rollanz, "Nay, love you I cannot, for on your side is arrogance and wrong." Out of Afrique an African was come. 'Twas Malchiant, the son of King Malcud. The beaten gold was all his armour done, for all men's else it shone beneath the sun. He sate his horse, which he called Salt Perdut, never so swift was any beast could run. And unsay upon the shield he struck, the scarlet with the blue he sliced it up, of his hauberk he's torn the folds and cut, the steel and stock has through his body thrust. Dead is that count, he's no more time to run. Then say the Franks, "Baron, an evil luck." Swift through the field Turpin the Archbishop passed. Such shaven crown has never else sung mass, who with his limbs such prowess might compass. To the pagan said, "God send thee all that's bad! One thou hast slain for whom my heart is sad." So his good horse forth at his bidding ran. He struck him then on his shield Toledan, until he flings him dead on the green grass. From the other part was a pagan Grandones, son of Capuel, the king of Cappadoce. He sate his horse, the which he called Mamor. Never so swift was any bird in course. He's loosed the reins, and spurring on that horse, he's gone to strike Gerin with all his force. The scarlet shield from's neck he's broken off, and all his sark thereafter has he torn. The ensign blue clean through his body's gone, until he flings him dead on a high rock. His companion Gerard he's slain also, and Berenger and Guillaume of Santone. Next a rich duke he's gone to strike, Austor, that held Valence and the honour of the Rhone. He's flung him dead, great joy the pagans show. Then say the Franks, "Of ours how many fall?" The Count Rollanz, his sword with blood is stained. Well has he heard what way the Franks complained. Such grief he has, his heart would split in twain. To the pagan says, "God send thee every shame! One hast thou slain that dearly thou'lt repay." He spurs his horse, that on with speed doth strain. Which should forfeit, they both together came. Grandony was both proof and valiant, and virtuous, a vassal combatant. Upon the way there he has met Rollant. He'd never seen, yet knew him at a glance, by the proud face and those fine limbs he had, by his regard and by his countenance. He could not help, but he grew faint thereat. He would escape, nothing avail he can. Struck him the count with so great virtue that to the nose plate he's all the helmet cracked. Sliced through the nose and mouth and teeth he has, hauberk close mailed and all the whole carcass, saddle of gold with plates of silver flanked, and of his horse has deeply scarred the back. He's slain them both, they'll make no more attack. The Spanish men in sorrow cry, "Alack!" Then say the Franks, "He strikes well, our Rollant." Marvellous is the battle in its speed. The Franks there strike with vigour and with heat, cutting through wrists and ribs and chines indeed, through garments to the lively flesh beneath. On the green grass the clear blood runs in streams. The pagans say, No more will suffer we. Terra Major, Mahomet's curse on thee! Beyond all men thy people are hardy. There was not one but cried then, Marsili, canter, O King, thy succour now we need. Marvellous is the battle now and grand. The Franks there strike, their good brown spears in hand. Then had you seen such sorrowing of clans, so many a slain, shattered and bleeding man, biting the earth or piled there on their backs, the Saracens cannot such loss withstand. Will they or nill, from off the field draw back, by lively force chase them away, the Franks. Their martyrdom, his men's, Marsile has seen, so he bids sound his horns and his buccines. Then canters forth with all his great army, canters before a Saracen abysmy. More felon none was in that company, cankered with guile and every felony. He fears not God, the Son of Saint Mary. Black is that man, as molten pitch that seethes. Better he loves murder and treachery than to have all the gold of Galilee. Never has man behold him sport for glee, yet vassalage he's shown, and great folly. So is he dear to the felon king Marsile. Dragon he bears, to which his tribe rally. That archbishop could never love him, he. Seeing him there, to strike he's very keen. Within himself he says all quietly, "This Saracen great heretic meseems, rather I'll die than not slay him clean. Ne'er did I love coward nor cowardice." That archbishop begins the fight again, sitting the horse which he took from Grosset, that was a king he had in Denmark slain. That charger is swift and of noble race, fine are his hoofs, his legs are smooth and straight. Short are his thighs, broad crupper he displays, long are his ribs, aloft his spine is raised. White is his tail and yellow is his mane, little his ears, and tawny all his face. No beast is there can match him in a race. That archbishop spurs on by vassalage, he will not pause, ere abysme he assail. So strikes that shield, is wonderfully arrayed, whereon are stones, amethyst and topaz, asterminals and carbuncles that blaze. A devil's gift it was, in Valmetes, who handed it to the Admiral Galifets. So Turpin strikes, spares him not any way. After that blow he's worth no penny wage. The carcass he's sliced, rib from rib away. So flings him down dead in an empty place. Then say the Franks, "He has great vassalage, with the archbishop surely the cross is safe." The Count Roland calls upon Oliver, "Sir companion, witness you'll freely bear. The archbishop is a right good chevalier, none better is neath heaven anywhere. Well can he strike with lance and well with spear." Answers that count, "Support to him we'll bear." Upon that word the Franks again make yare. Hard are the blows, slaughter and suffering there, for Christians too, most bitter grief and care. Who could had seen Rollanz and Oliver, with their good swords to strike and to slaughter? And the archbishop lays on there with his spear. Those that are dead, men well may hold them dear. In charters and in briefs is written clear, 4,000 fell, and more, the tales declare. 'Gainst 4 assaults easily did they fare, but then the 5th brought heavy griefs to bear. They all are slain, those Frankish chevaliers, only 60, whom God was pleased to spare. Before these die, they'll sell them very dear. The Count Roland great loss of his men sees. His companion Olivier calls and speaks: "Sir and comrade, in God's name that you keeps, such good vassals you see lie here in heaps. For France the Douce, fair country, may we weep; of such barons long desolate she'll be. Ah, king and friend, wherefore are you not here? O Oliver, brother, can we achieve? And by what means our news to him repeat?" Says Oliver, "I know not how to seek. Rather I'd die than shame come of this feat." Then says Rollanz, I'll wind this Oliphant. If Charles hear, where in the pass he stands, I pledge you now they will return, the Franks. Says Oliver, great shame would come of that, and a reproach on every one, your clan, that shall endure while each lives in the land. When I implored you would not do this act, doing it now, no raise from me you'll have. So wind your horn, but not by courage rash, seeing that both your arms with blood are splashed. Answers that count, fine blows I've struck them back. Then says Roland, strong it is now, our battle. I'll wind my horn, so the king hears it, Charles. Says Oliver, that act were not a vassal's. When I implored you, comrade, you were wrathful. Were the king here, we had not borne such damage, nor should we blame those with him there, his army. Says Oliver, now by my beard hereafter, if I may see my gentle sister Alde, she in her arms, I swear, shall never clasp you. Then says Rollanz, wherefore so wroth with me? He answers him, comrade, it was your deed. Vassalage comes by sense and not folly. Prudence more worth is than stupidity. Here are Franks dead, all for your trickery. No more service to Carlon may we yield. My lord were here now, had you trusted me, and fought and won this battle then had we, taken or slain were the king Marsili. In your prowess, Rollanz, no good we've seen. Charles the Great in vain your aid will seek, none such as he till God his judgment speak. Here must you die, and France in shame be steeped. Here perishes our loyal company. Before this night great severance and grief. That Archbishop has heard them, how they spoke. His horse he pricks with his fine spurs of gold. Coming to them, he takes up his reproach. Sir Oliver, and you, Sir Roland, both, for God I pray, do not each other scold. No help it were to us the horn to blow, but, none the less, it may be better so. The king will come, with vengeance that he owes. These Spanish men never away shall go. Our Franks here, each descending from his horse, will find us dead, and limb from body torn. They'll take us hence on biers and litters borne. With pity and with grief for us they'll mourn. They'll bury each in some old minster close. No wolf, nor swine, nor dog shall gnaw our bones. Answers Roland, Sir, very well you spoke. Roland hath set the Oliphant to his mouth. He grasps it well, and with great virtue sounds. High are those peaks, afar it rings and loud. 30 great leagues they hear its echoes mount. So Charles heard, and all his comrades round. Then said that king, battle they do, our counts! And Guenelun answered, contrarious, that were a lie in any other mouth. The Count Rollanz with sorrow and with pangs, and with great pain, sounded his Oliphant. Out of his mouth the clear blood leapt and ran. About his brain the very temples cracked. Loud is its voice, that horn he holds in hand. Charles hath heard, where in the pass he stands. And Neimes hears, and listens all the Franks. Then says the king, I hear his horn, Rollanz. He'ld never sound, but he were in combat. Answers him Guenes, it is no battle that. Now are you old, blossoming white and blanched. Yet by such words you still appear infant. You know full well the great pride of Rollant. Marvel it is, God stays so tolerant. Noples he took, not waiting your command. Thence issued forth the Sarrazins, a band, With vassalage had fought against Roland. He slew them first, with Durendal his brand, Then washed their blood with water from the land. So what he'd done might not be seen of man. He for a hare goes all day, horn in hand. Before his peers in foolish jest he brags. No race neath heaven and field him dare attack. So canter on! Nay, wherefore hold we back? Terra Major is far away, our land. The Count Rollanz, though blood his mouth doth stain, and burst are both the temples of his brain. His Oliphant he sounds with grief and pain. Charles hath heard, listen the Franks again. "That horn," the king says, "hath a mighty strain." Answers Duke Neimes, "A baron blows with pain. Battle is there, indeed I see it plain. He is betrayed by one that still doth feign. Equip you, sir, cry out your old refrain, That noble band, go succour them amain. Enough you've heard how Roland doth complain." That Emperour hath bid them sound their horns. The Franks dismount and dress themselves for war. Put hauberks on, helmets and golden swords. Fine shields they have, and spears of length and force. Scarlet and blue and white their ensigns float. His charger mounts each baron of the host. They spur with haste as through the pass they go. Nor was there one but thus to his neighbour spoke: "Now ere he die, may we see Rollant so. Ranged by his side, we'll give some goodly blows." But what avail? They've stayed too long below. That eventide is light as was the day. Their armour shines beneath the sun's clear ray. Hauberks and helms throw off a dazzling flame, And blazoned shields flowered in bright array. Also their spears with golden ensigns gay. That Emperour, he canters on with rage, And all the Franks with wonder and dismay. There is not one can bitter tears restrain, And for Rollant they're very sore afraid. The king has bid them seize that county Guene, And charged with him the scullions of his train. The master cook he's called, Besgun by name. "Guard me him well, his felony is plain, Who in my house vile treachery has made." He holds him, and 100 others takes From the kitchen, both good and evil knaves. Then Guene's beard and both his cheeks they shaved, And 4 blows each with their closed fists they gave. They trounced him well with cudgels and with staves, And on his neck they clasped an iron chain. So like a bear enchained they held him safe. On a pack mule they set him in his shame. Kept him till Charles should call for him again. High were the peaks, and shadowy and grand. The valleys deep, the rivers swiftly ran. Trumpets they blew in rear and in the van, Till all again answered that Oliphant. That Emperour canters with fury mad, And all the Franks dismay and wonder have. There is not one but weeps and waxes sad, And all pray God that he will guard Rollant, Till in the field together they may stand. There by his side they'll strike as well they can. But what avail? No good there is in that. They're not in time, too long have they held back. End of verses 88 to 138. Verses 139 to 176 of the Song of Roland. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Joy Chan. The Song of Roland. Anonymous. Translated by Charles Kenneth Scott Moncrief. Verses 139 to 176. In his great rage on canters Charlemagne. Over his sark his beard is flowing plain. Barons of France in haste they spur and strain. There is not one that can his wrath contain. That they are not with Roland the captain, Whereas he fights the Sarrazins of Spain. If he be struck, will not one soul remain. God, 60 men are all now in his train. Never a king had better capitains. Roland regards the barren mountain sides. Dead men of France he sees so many lie, And weeps for them, as fits a gentle knight. "Lords and barons, may God to you be kind, And all your souls redeem for paradise, and let you there mid holy flowers lie. Better vassals than you saw never I. Ever you've served me, and so long a time. By you Carlon hath conquered kingdoms wide. That emperour reared you for evil plight. Douce land of France, O very precious clime, laid desolate by such a sour exile. Barons of France, for me I've seen you die, and no support, no warrant could I find. God be your aid, who never yet hath lied. I must not fail now, brother, by your side, save I be slain, for sorrow shall I die. Sir companion, let us again go strike. The Count Rolands back to the field then hieing, holds Durendal, and like a vassal striking, Faldrin of Puy has through the middle sliced, with 24 of all they rated highest. Was never man for vengeance showed such liking. Even as a stag before the hounds goes flying, before Rolands the pagans scatter frightened. Says the Archbishop: "You deal now very wisely. Such valour should he show that is bred knightly, and beareth arms, and a good charger rideth. In battle should be strong and proud and sprightly, or otherwise he is not worth a shilling, should be a monk in one of those old minsters, where day by day he'd pray for us poor sinners." Answers Rollant: "Strike on, no quarter give them." Upon these words Franks are again beginning. Very great loss they suffer then, the Christians. The man who knows, for him there's no prison, in such a fight with keen defence lays on. Wherefore the Franks are fiercer than lions. Marsile you'd seen go as a brave baron, sitting his horse, the which he calls Gagnon. He spurs it well, going to strike Bevan. That was the land of Beaune and of Dijon. His shield he breaks, his hauberk has undone. So flings him dead, without condition. Next he hath slain Vorerie and Yvon, also with them Gerard of Roussillon. The Count Rolands, being not far him from, to the pagan says: "Confound thee, our Lord God! So wrongfully you've slain my companions, a blow you'll take ere we apart be gone, and of my sword the name I'll bid you con." He goes to strike him, as a brave baron, and his right hand the Count clean slices off. Then takes the head of Jusselot the blond, that was the son of King Marsilion. Pagans cry out: "Assist us now, Mahom! God of our race, avenge us on Carlon! Into this land he's sent us such felons, that will not leave the fight before they drop." Says each to each: "Nay, let us fly!" Upon that word they're fled, 100,000 gone. Call them who may, they'll never more come on. But what avail? Though fled be Marsilis, he's left behind his uncle the Alcaliph, who holds Alfern, Cartagine, Garmali, and Ethiop, a cursed land indeed. The blackamoors from there are in his keep, broad in the nose they are and flat in the ear, 50,000 and more in company. These canter forth with arrogance and heat. Then they cry out the pagans' rallying cheer, and Rollant says: "Martyrdom we'll receive. Not long to live, I know it well, have we. Felon he's named that sells his body cheap. Strike on, my lords, with burnished swords and keen. Contest each inch your life and death between, that near by us douce France in shame be steeped. When Charles my lord shall come into this field, such discipline of Sarrazins he'll see, for one of ours he'll find them dead 15. He will not fail, but bless us all in peace." When Rollant sees those misbegotten men, who are more black than ink is on the pen, with no part white, only their teeth except, then says that Count: "I know now very well, that here to die we're bound, as I can tell. Strike on, the Franks, for so I recommend." Says Oliver: "Who holds back is condemned." Upon those words the Franks to strike again. Franks are but few, which, when the pagans know, among themselves comfort and pride they show. Says each to each, "Wrong was that emperor." There our Caliph upon a sorrel rode, and pricked it well with both his spurs of gold. Struck Oliver behind on the backbone, his hauberk white into his body broke, clean through his breast the thrusting spear he drove. After he said, "You've borne a mighty blow. Charles the Great should not have left you so. He's done us wrong, small thanks to him we owe. I've well avenged all ours on you alone." Oliver feels that he to die is bound, holds Hauteclair, whose steel is rough and brown, strikes the alcaliph on his helm's golden mount. Flowers and stones fall clattering to the ground, slices his head to the small teeth in his mouth, so brandishes his blade and flings him down. After he says, "Pagan, accursed be thou! Thou'lt never say that Charles forsakes me now, nor to thy wife, nor any dame thou'st found, thou'lt never boast, in lands where thou wast crowned, one pennyworth from me thou'st taken out, nor damage wrought on me, nor any around." After, for aid, "Roland!" he cries aloud. Oliver feels that death is drawing nigh. To avenge himself he hath no longer time. Through the great press most gallantly he strikes. He breaks their spears, their buckled shields doth slice, their feet, their fists, their shoulders and their sides, dismembers them, whoso had seen that sigh. Dead in the field one on another piled, remember well a vassal brave he might. Charles' ensign, he'll not forget it quite. Aloud and clear, "Montjoy!" again he cries. To call Rollanz, his friend and peer, he tries. "My companion, come hither to my side. With bitter grief we must us now divide." Then Rollant looked upon Olivier's face, which was all wan and colourless and pale, while the clear blood, out of his body sprayed, upon the ground gushed forth and ran away. "God!" said that count, "what shall I do or say? My companion, gallant for such ill fate, Ne'er shall man be, against thee could prevail. Ah, France the Douce, henceforth art thou made waste Of vassals brave, confounded and disgraced. Our Emperour shall suffer damage great." And with these words upon his horse he faints. You'd seen Rollant aswoon there in his seat, And Oliver, who unto death doth bleed. So much he's bled, his eyes are dim and weak, Nor clear enough his vision, far or near, To recognise whatever man he sees. His companion, when each the other meets, Above the helm jewelled with gold he beats, Slicing it down from there to the nose piece, But not his head; he's touched not brow nor cheek. At such a blow Rollant regards him keen, And asks of him in gentle tones and sweet: "To do this thing, my comrade, did you mean? This is Rollanz, who ever held you dear, And no mistrust was ever us between." Says Oliver: "Now can I hear you speak? I see you not. May the Lord God you keep! I struck you now, and for your pardon plead." Answers Rollanz: "I am not hurt, indeed. I pardon you, before God's throne and here." Upon these words each to the other leans, And in such love you had their parting seen. Oliver feels death's anguish on him now, And in his head his two eyes swimming round. Nothing he sees, he hears not any sound. Dismounting then he kneels upon the ground, Proclaims his sins both firmly and aloud, Clasps his two hands, heavenwards holds them out, Prays God himself in Paradise to allow. Blessings on Charles and on Douce France he vows, And his comrade Rollanz, to whom he's bound. Then his heart fails, his helmet nods and bows, Upon the earth he lays his whole length out, And he is dead, may stay no more that count. Rollanz the brave mourns him with great profound. nowhere on earth so sad a man you'd found. So Roland's friend is dead, whom when he sees, face to the ground, and biting it with's teeth, begins to mourn in language very sweet. "Unlucky friend, your courage was indeed. Together we have spent such days and years. No harmful thing twixt thee and me has been. Now thou art dead, and all my life a grief." And with these words again he swoons, that chief, upon his horse, which he calls Veillantif. Stirrups of gold support him underneath. He cannot fall, whichever way he lean. Soon as Roland his senses wan and new, recovering and turning from that swoon, bitter great loss appeared there in his view. Dead are the Franks, he'd all of them to lose, save the Archbishop, and save Gualter Delhomme. He is come down out of the mountains, who 'gainst Spanish men made there a great ado. Dead are his men, for those the pagans slew. Will he or nill, along the vales he flew, and called Rollant to bring him succour soon. "Ah, gentle Count, brave soldier, where are you? For by thy side no fear I ever knew. Gualter it is, who conquered Maelgut, and nephew was to hoary old Drouin. My vassalage thou ever thoughtest good, broken my spear and split my shield in two. Gone is the mail that on my hauberk grew. This body of mine 8 lances have gone through. I'm dying, yet full price for life I took." Roland has heard these words and understood, has spurred his horse, and on towards him drew. Grief gives Rolland's intolerance and pride. Through the great press he goes again to strike. To slay a score of Spaniards he contrives. Gualter has 6, the Archbishop other 5. The pagans say, "Men, these of felon kind, lordings, take care they go not hence alive. Felon he's named that does not break their line, recreant who lets them any safety find." And so once more begin the hue and cry. From every part they come to break the line. Count Roland is a noble and brave soldier, Gualter Delhomme's a right good chevalier. That Archbishop hath shown good prowess there. None of them falls behind the other pair. Through the great press pagans they strike again, come on afoot 1,000 Sarrazens, and on horseback some 40,000 men. And well I know, to approach they never dare. Lances and spears they poise to hurl at them, arrows, barbs, darts and javelins in the air. With the first flight they've slain our Gualtier. Turpin of Reims has all his shield broken, and cracked his helm, he's wounded in the head. From his hauberk the woven mail they tear. In his body 4 spear wounds doth he bear. Beneath him too his charger's fallen dead. Great grief it was when that Archbishop fell. Turpin of Reims hath felt himself undone, since that 4 spears have through his body come. Nimble and bold upon his feet he jumps, looks for Roland, and then towards him runs, saying this word, "I am not overcome. While life remains, no good vassal gives up." He's drawn our mace, whose steel was brown and rough. Through the great press 1,000 blows he struck. As Charles said, quarter he gave to none. He found him there, 400 else among. Wounded the most, speared through the middle some. Also there were from whom the heads he'd cut. So tells the tale, he that was there says thus: The brave Saint Giles, whom God made marvellous, who charters wrote for the minster at Loam. Nothing he's heard that does not know this much. The Count Rollanz has nobly fought and well, but he is hot and all his body sweats. Great pain he has and trouble in his head. His temples burst when he the horn sounded. But he would know if Charles will come to them. Takes the Oliphant and feebly sounds again. That Emperour stood still and listened then. "My lords," said he, "right evilly we fare. This day Rollant, my nephew, shall be dead. I hear his horn with scarcely any breath. Nimbly canter, whoever would be there. Your trumpets sound, as many as ye bear." 60,000 so loud together blare, the mountains ring, the valleys answer them. The pagans hear, they think it not a jest. Says each to each, "Carlun doth us bestead." The pagans say, "That Emperour's at hand, we hear their sound, the trumpets of the Franks. If Charles come, great loss we then shall stand, and war's renewed, unless we slay Rollant. All Spain we'll lose, our own clear fatherland." 400 men of them in helmets stand, the best of them that might be in their ranks, make on Rollands a grim and fierce attack. 'Gainst these the count had well enough in hand. The Count Rollands, when their approach he sees, is grown so bold and manifest and fierce. So long as he's alive he will not yield. He sits his horse, which men call Veillantif, pricking him well with golden spurs beneath. Through the great press he goes, their line to meet, and by his side is the Archbishop Turpin. "Now, friend, be gone!" say pagans each to each. "These Frankish men, their horns we plainly hear. Charles is at hand, that king in majesty." The Count Rollands has never loved cowards, nor arrogant, nor men of evil heart, nor chevalier that was not good vassal. That Archbishop Turpins he calls apart. "Sir, you're afoot, and I my charger have. For love of you, here will I take my stand. Together we'll endure things good and bad. I'll leave you not, for no incarnate man. We'll give again these pagans their attack. The better blows are those from Durendal." Says the Archbishop, "Shame on him that holds back! Charles is at hand, full vengeance he'll exact." The pagans say, "Unlucky were we born, An evil day for us did this day dawn. For we have lost our peers and all our lords. Charles his great host once more upon us draws. Of Frankish men we plainly hear the horns. Monjoie they cry, and great is their uproar. The Count Rollant is of such pride and force, He'll never yield to man of woman born. Let's aim at him, then leave him on the spot." And aim they did, with arrows long and short, lances and spears and feathered javelots. Count Rollant's shield they've broken through and bored, The woven mail have from his hauberk torn. But not himself, they've never touched his corse. Veillantif is in 30 places gored. Beneath the Count he's fallen dead, that horse. Pagans are fled, and leave him on the spot. The Count Rollant stands on his feet once more. Pagans are fled, enangered and enraged. Home into Spain with speed they make their way. The Count Rollands he has not given chase, For Veillantif his charger they have slain. Will he or nill, on foot he must remain. To the Archbishop Turpins he goes with aid. He's from his head the golden helm unlaced, Taken from him his white hauberk away, And cut the gown in strips, was round his waist, On his great wounds the pieces of it placed. Then to his heart has caught him and embraced. On the green grass he has him softly laid. Most sweetly then to him has Rollant prayed: "Ah, gentle sir, give me your leave, I say. Our companions, whom we so dear appraised, Are now all dead, we cannot let them stay. I will go seek and bring them to this place, Arrange them here in ranks before your face." Said the Archbishop, "Go and return again. This field is yours and mine now, God be praised." So Rollands turns, through the field all alone, Searching the vales and mountains, he is gone. He finds Gerin, Gerers his companion. Also he finds Berenger and Otton. There too he finds Anseis and Sanson. and finds Gerard the Old of Roussillon. By one and one he's taken those barons, to the Archbishop with each of them he comes, before his needs arranges every one. That Archbishop he cannot help but sob, he lifts his hand, gives benediction. After he said, "Unlucky lords, your lot, but all your souls he'll lay, our glorious Lord, in Paradise, his holy flowers upon. For my own death such anguish now I've got, I shall not see him, our rich Emperor." So Roland turns, goes through the field in quest, his companion Olivier finds at length. He has embraced him close against his breast. To the Archbishop returns as he can best, upon a shield he's laid him by the rest, and the Archbishop has them absolved and blessed. Whereon his grief and pity grow afresh. Then says Rollanz: "Fair comrade Olivier, you were the son of the good Count Rainier, who held the march by the vale of Runier, to shatter spears, through buckled shields to bear, and from hauberks the mail to break and tear, proof men to lead and prudent counsel share, gluttons in field to frighten and conquer. No land has known a better chevalier." The Count Rollanz, when dead he saw his peers, and Oliver he held so very dear, grew tender and began to shed a tear. Out of his face the colour disappeared, no longer could he stand for so much grief, will he or nill, he swooned upon the field. Said the Archbishop: "Unlucky lord indeed." When the Archbishop beheld him swoon, Rollant, never before such bitter grief he'd had. Stretching his hand, he took that Oliphant. Through Roncevaux a little river ran. He would go there, fetch water for Rollant. Went step by step, to stumble soon began. So feeble he is, no further fare he can. For too much blood he's lost, and no strength has. Ere he has crossed an acre of the land, his heart grows faint, he falls down forwards, and death comes to him with very cruel pangs. The Count Rollanz wakes from his swoon once more, climbs to his feet, his pains are very sore. Looks down the vale, looks to the hills above. On the green grass beyond his companions he sees him lie, that noble old baron. 'Tis the Archbishop, whom in his name wrought God, there who proclaims his sins and looks above, joins his two hands, to heaven holds them forth, and Paradise prays God to him to accord. Dead is Turpin, the warrior of Chalon, in battles great and very rare sermons, against pagans ever a champion. God grant him now his benediction. The Count Roland sees the Archbishop lie dead, sees the bowels out of his body shed, and sees the brains that surge from his forehead. Between his two armpits, upon his breast, crossways he folds those hands so white and fair, then mourns aloud, as was the custom there: "Thee, gentle sir, chevalier nobly bred, to the glorious Celestial I commend. Ne'er shall man be, that will him serve so well. Since the Apostles was never such prophet, to hold the law and draw the hearts of men. Now may your soul no pain nor sorrow ken, finding the gates of Paradise open." Then Rollanz feels that death to him draws near, for all his brain is issued from his ears. He prays to God that he will call the peers, bids Gabriel, the angel, to himself appear, takes the Oliphant that no reproach shall hear, and Durendal in the other hand he wields. Further than might a crossbow's arrow speed, goes towards Spain into a fallow field, climbs on a cliff, where, under two fair trees, 4 terraces of marble wrought he sees. There he falls down, and lies upon the green. He swoons again, for death is very near. High are the peaks, the trees are very high. 4 terraces of polished marble shine. On the green grass Count Roland swoons thereby. A Saracen him all the time espies, who feigning death among the others hides. Blood hath his face, and all his body dyed. He gets afoot, running towards him hies. Fair was he, strong and of a courage high. A mortal hate he's kindled in his pride. He seized Roland, and the arms were at his side. "Charles' nephew," he said, "here conquered lies. To Araby I'll bear this sword as prize." As he drew it, something the count descried. So Roland felt his sword was taken forth, opened his eyes, and this word to him spoke: "Thou'rt never one of ours, full well I know." Took the Oliphant, that he would not let go, struck him on the helm, that jewelled was with gold, and broke its steel, his skull and all his bones. Out of his head both the 2 eyes he drove. Dead at his feet he has the pagan thrown. After he said: "Culvert, thou wert too bold. Or right or wrong, of my sword seizing hold, They'll dub thee fool, to whom the tale is told. But my great one, my Oliphant, I broke, fallen from it the crystal and the gold." Then Rollant feels that he has lost his sight, climbs to his feet, uses what strength he might. In all his face the colour is grown white. In front of him a great brown boulder lies, whereon 10 blows with grief and rage he strikes. The steel cries out, but does not break outright. And the count says: "Saint Mary, be my guide! Good Durendal, unlucky is your plight. I've need of you no more, spent is my pride. We in the field have won so many fights, combating through so many regions wide, That Charles holds, whose beard is hoary white. Be you not his that turns from any in flight. A good vassal has held you this long time. Never shall France the free behold his like." Rollant hath struck the sardonyx terrace. The steel cries out, but broken is no ways. So when he sees he never can it break, Within himself begins he to complain: "Ah, Durendal, white art thou, clear of stain! Beneath the sun reflecting back his rays. In Maurienne was Charles in the vale, When from heaven God by his angel bade Him give thee to a count and capitaine. Girt thee on me that noble king and great. I won for him with thee Anjou, Bretagne, And won for him with thee Peytaux the Maine, And Normandy, the free for him I gained. Also with thee Provence and Equitaine, And Lombardy and all the whole Romaine. I won Bévers, all Flanders in the plain, Also Burguine, and all the whole Priene. Constantinople, that homage to him pays. In Saxony all is as he ordains. With thee I won him Scotland, Ireland, Wales, England also, where he his chamber makes. Won I with thee so many countries strange, That Charles holds, whose beard is white with age. For this sword's sake sorrow upon me weighs. Rather I'll die than it mid pagans stay. Let God Father never let France be shamed." Rollant his stroke on a dark stone repeats, And more of it breaks off than I can speak. The sword cries out, yet breaks not in the least. Back from the blow into the air it leaps. Destroy it can he not, which when he sees, Within himself he makes a plaint most sweet: "Ah, Durendal, most holy, fair indeed! Relics enough thy golden hilt conceals, Saint Peter's tooth, the blood of Saint Basile, Some of the hairs of my lord, Saint Denis, Some of the robe was worn by Saint Mary. It is not right that pagans should thee seize. For Christian men your use shall ever be, Nor any man's that worketh cowardice. Many broad lands with you have I retrieved, which Charles holds, who hath the great white beard, wherefore that king so proud and rich is he. But Roland felt that death had made a way Down from his head till on his heart it lay. Beneath a pine running in haste he came. On the green grass he lay there on his face, His Oliphant and sword beneath him placed, Turning his head towards the pagan race. Now this he did in truth, that Charles might say, As he desired, and all the Franks his race: "Ah, gentle Count, conquering he was slain." He owned his faults often and every way, And for his sins his glove to God upraised. But Rollant feels he's no more time to seek. Looking to Spain he lies on a sharp peak, And with one hand upon his breast he beats. "Mea culpa, God, by thy virtues clean Me from my sins, the mortal and the mean, Which from the hour that I was born have been Until this day, when life is ended here." Holds out his glove, towards God as he speaks. Angels descend from heaven on that scene. The Count Rollanz beneath a pine he sits, Turning his eyes towards Spain he begins, Remembering so many diverse things, So many lands where he went conquering, And France the Douce, the heroes of his kin, And Charlemagne, his lord who nourished him. Nor can he help but weep and sigh at this, But his own self he's not forgotten him. He owns his faults and God's forgiveness bids. Very Father, in whom no falsehood is, Saint Lazaron from death thou didst remit, And Daniel save from the lions' pit, My soul and me preserve from all peril, And from the sins I did in life commit. His right hand glove, to God he offers it. Saint Gabriel from's hand hath taken it. Over his arm his head bows down and slips. He joins his hands, and so is life finished. God sent him down his angel cherubim, And Saint Michael we worship in peril, And by their side Saint Gabriel alit. So the Count's soul they bear to Paradise. End of verses 139 to 176.